Good morning. Welcome to another vlog. I know that the last one ended on somewhat of a sad note. Admittedly, yesterday I didn't vlog and I spent a whole day traveling again, and it was also pretty sad. So I don't know. I feel like travel is such a blessing, like having the means to do it. But when it's really rough, like for example, the reason why I had to move my flight was because I was anticipating a snowstorm hitting Vancouver, and my sister's flight had already got canceled from the one previous. So I felt like if I didn't get out right the next day, when it was the last predicted day of sun and cloud and no snow or rain, then I was probably not going to go to London. So what I ended up doing was I had to book two separate flights going from Vancouver to Seattle, and then that's when you saw the 7-hour layover in Seattle. Then after the layover, going from Seattle to San Francisco, and then after a brief night in San Francisco, yesterday was going from San Francisco to Newark in New Jersey. And so that was also a long flight with a layover in Minneapolis. And in Minneapolis, the second leg of the flight, so going from Minneapolis to Newark, got delayed by several hours. So I think at the airport, morale was just super low. Like I felt like I've been getting on 4 flights already and I wasn't even in London. I was still just within the US. And then I think to make matters worse, this isn't just any travel season. This is the holidays and everyone is trying to get home, or if they're like me, go to some other destination for vacation, and everyone is really frustrated. There are crying babies everywhere. There's always the worry of lost luggage in the chaos. So I don't know, I really empathized with everybody going through it, and it just felt extra rough for me as well. So yeah, now I'm in Newark. I had a really good night's sleep, which I really desperately needed. The brief night in San Francisco just didn't do it for me, and I couldn't get like decent sleep with the series of short flights, with all the layovers. So yeah, last night was much needed, and I'm actually still not headed to London just yet. My flight is tomorrow evening, but like you already know, I'm already in Newark. So I figured I'd spend today exploring New Jersey. I feel like everyone that comes here is usually in transit to New York City, and I just wanted to see what New Jersey had to offer. So I'm kind of excited. But yeah, traveling has been pretty rough. Although I will say, stopping by in Seattle and going to some of my favorite old haunts was actually so nice. In particular, going to Elliott Bay Book Company, I just have such fond memories of being there with one of my close friends that lives in Seattle, and just talking about life, being surrounded by cozy books. Everyone there is so friendly, and even the cafe was pretty good. So you saw I had a tuna salad sandwich and the Oddfellows cookie, their signature cookie, which had walnuts, toffee, and chocolate chip in it. So, you know, I had to get it. And I did end up buying the book that you saw, called Dead End Memories by Banana Yoshimoto. Banana is her pseudonym. And I just ended up reading and crying on the plane. It was really unexpected, but basically the book is about well, it's a collection of short stories, each about a different woman who has experienced like a sudden and painful event in their life, but they're sort of quietly discovering their way back to recovery. And I cried because, one, it was just so beautiful to romanticize the everyday, the ordinary things, the ordinary interactions. And that's sort of what I wanted to do by documenting things here on YouTube. So that felt really relatable, and then she did it in such a beautiful way. And secondly, I haven't read very many Asian authors, and similar to our language, I mean, I don't speak Japanese, but I speak Chinese, and it reminded me, the style of language reminded me of the way we speak. So for example, like, it's subtle, like you'll never hear any strong derogatory language, but it's also direct at the same time. So it's interesting, like the story will tell you what happens and then explain how we got there. And that felt so akin to like the cultural nuances too of our language. Will like be really direct about certain things, but maybe use really subtle language to describe them, if that makes sense. I don't know if I have any Asian viewers, but that like really hit home. It just felt like I was like speaking or listening to a relative, and that was really nice. And thirdly, I think just the premise of the book felt really maybe in line with what I'm currently experiencing. Like, I do feel like I'm still recovering from like an extremely long-term relationship that was no longer serving me, and I do feel like I'm slowly but surely making my way back to recovery, even though at times it feels slower than it should, or it feels slower than normal, even though there's no such thing as normal. I know all these things, but yeah, it felt very healing for the soul to see these other women, even though they're fictional, actually make their way to the other side. And so I think I'm really excited to see what that feels like.
just checking in here to say good night. We had a lovely day in New Jersey today. So the first part was actually in New York because every time I come, I go to the same place. I go to Mala Project and I have dry pod there. So I couldn't miss a beat this time either. But then right after we went to New Jersey, I think first we actually ended up going shopping at Menlo Park, and then we ended up in Edison, which is where you saw the Indian shops and the Indian treats that we got to eat. Then we actually went to Westfield for the final meal. Just a gorgeous place, really good ambiance. It was clear that they were trying to make like elevated Indian cuisine, and I think it really hit the spot. It wasn't like done in a tacky or overproduced way, which I really loved. And then after that, I just came right back to Newark, where I'm staying near the airport. So I actually do highly recommend people take, like, I don't know, a day trip out to New Jersey if they're stopping by New York City. It's just like a less busy, I guess, sister city with equally as good food. You just need to have a car. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going to anger any New Yorkers by saying this, but you know, New York is not the only place that people can live and work and eat and have fun. So I definitely highly recommend a day trip there. But anyway, tomorrow is another big travel day. It's a day where I'm getting on my flight pretty much at 8 p.m. and then going to be in London. I guess how many hours after that? Maybe 6 or 7. So I don't think I'll do much tomorrow, and I definitely think I'll be a grumpy cat while I'm in transit. So I think the next time we check in, it will be across the pond, and there'll be a lot to see and do. So I'll definitely take you along with me then. But for now, I'm just gonna rest, and I don't know, feel grateful for the big belly of food that I have. So I'll talk to you in the next one. Thanks for watching.